Okay. Okay, I've seen Dr. Revis is here, Dr. Hamilton, Dr. Lamb, Dr. Crawford. Are you present? I haven't seen you yet. Okay. You'll join in a minute. Dr. Lamb, let me know when we're ready to start. He stepped away a minute.
Well, I've got 7:01.
7:01. Are you ready?
I'm
sure we will have.
But I'm listening to these dings, people joining in.
Okay.
I'm waiting for them to.
Okay.
I'm waiting another minute or two until I hear the dings quieten down.
Okay. We have about 70 students.
Yeah, I'm watching about 70, and so between your sections, you've got 110. So there's about 40 missing so far. So I'm going to wait another 30 seconds here.
We were just talking about how bad things are in the schools right now. That's what we were saying.
Yeah, it's the same way everywhere. Same way at the college. One of Jeff's adjuncts called in today. His daughter was at Wilmington. She got it. They went and got her. Now him and his wife have it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
we're covered up down here.
Yeah. So, on a housekeeping note, it didn't get done when it was scheduled to, but it was supposedly done this morning. All of you now have access to everybody else's shelves.
Okay.
And, for the backup plan, it was supposed to be done in June, but as I found out earlier this week, it didn't get done, so it's done now.
Awesome.
So all of you are 0% in everybody else's course that you work with, so that if you can't do if something happens, you can go ahead and do that. So that got taken care of this morning, so it got done.
Thank you.
That's what matters. Thank you. That's what matters. All right, I've got 7:03. It's time to start.
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and get started. I just want to say welcome to our first coaching session. As Dr. Lamb said during our town hall, at least for the first 3 weeks and possibly for the first 4 weeks, we've got it built in there. We determine at the end of 3 weeks whether we will do a coaching session on that fourth Thursday night or not. We may do last semester. We basically allowed each group to do their own thing because we were at that place. We'll decide week 3 whether we're at that place or not. But welcome. I hope that from your classes on Tuesday night that you've already been able to begin thinking about what all of this is about, and the experience that you're a part of, and that you've already begun speaking with your principal and begun thinking about the things that you've got to do to get started with task 1 of the AAPSL, which we will talk about tonight. But I'm not going to waste any more time. Each of us has a portion we're going to move through. I would ask you that try to listen more than think about asking questions at this point. There may, because I think a lot of your questions will probably be answered throughout the evening. And then if there's things that we need to talk about at the end, then we can save it until then. In the meantime, Dr. Hamilton, different ones, make sure that you're looking to see if there is anything in the chat box that we need to pay attention to. Turn it over to you, Dr. Lamb.
Thank you, Dr. Stedman. Welcome. Thanks to Drs. Stedman and Revis, who are partners, and Dr. Crawford and Dr. Hamilton, who are partners. You notice that we partner folks up. They also do their own coaching. It's always good to hear one voice in terms of the things that you need to do. And so I'm appreciative of the hard work that they do. They make the MELS program. It's easy after this. They kind of get you all ready for us later on. You'll be with me or part of my team next semester in 603 for Law and Finance. And then you'll be with Dr. Stone and his team in 6:05 for politics and leadership. And so, but everybody gets into the swing of things this semester. That's why we all kind of pitch in and make sure that you get inducted properly. You understand the expectations and what we're looking for in a MELS add-on candidate. So to that end, I'll share my first document, which is the same document that I shared Monday at the orientation that we have. And so let me pull it up right quick. And it's the roles of the people who are working with you. Your clinical coach one is the person who simply gets in touch with you and conducts a video Zoom chat with you and your principal. Number one, to make sure your principal is aware that you're in the program and that everything is good, and to let them know that all they have to do is sign off on your clinical hours. And so after that, if you have an issue at your school site, they're the person that contacts, that will make a physical visit if possible or necessary to your site if there's some issue that you have. We normally have done these face to face, but obviously during the COVID era, where we had to stop last spring of 2020, we had to stop our visits, and then we've conducted them virtually since that time. A lot of schools don't let visitors in even still. So we'll do the best we can video wise, but that's what that person does. Now those people are assigned proximity. That means they live near you. That's the notion here is that they live an hour or less away from you, so they can come to your school and visit with you if needed. And so as you can see here are the things. Now, the clinical coach too is the person that is paired with your class that works with you. So if you're in Dr. Stedman's class, Dr. Revis is your coach. And conversely, if you're in Dr. Revis's class, Dr. Stedman is your coach. And if you're in Dr. Hamilton's class, it will be Dr. Crawford and vice versa with them. And so that's how we cover these things. And so they not only know the coaching role, they are instructors as well. That's very critical, to make sure we don't just have somebody coaching you that thinks they know what's going on. These are the instructors who do that with you. So they fulfill both roles, and I'm thankful that they're able to do that. That way we have a singular voice in terms of what folks need to hear. And so here are all the roles. Now, the other person that you need to be concerned about is your task stream evaluator. Don't be concerned that you don't know who that person is. You're not allowed to know who that person is. They don't know who you are. It's double blind. You don't know them, they don't know you. They simply assess the work on the straight grading rubric that comes in. It's just that simple. They don't know you, they haven't coached you. All your work has been done in Blackboard until it's time to put it into task stream for evaluation. We don't do comments in task stream DRF. We don't do partials. We don't put individual tasks. None of that. That's all done in Blackboard with your coaches. And when they say it's ready to go, that's what we do. Now, there is a document. Let me pull it up. This document, in terms of the task and prompts, it tells you under each task what it's going to take from our experience dealing with these evaluators, what it's going to take to get that accomplished score that we're aiming for. If you aim for accomplish and we fall a little bit short, we're still going to hit, the proficient category, which is good enough to go on. The problem is if you only aim for proficiency and you fall a little bit short, then I'm going to have to be the bearer of bad news, and you're not going to pass that one until we get it fixed. And on the second attempt, if it still doesn't get there, then you're not going to be able to proceed with us. If you don't pass your evidences each semester, this semester, which will be the AAPSL and the APTEL, you don't get to go on to 603 next semester. You have to take a semester and internship only and work through these and get them done, which will throw you off at least one semester in completing your program. You cannot go to 603 until you pass both state assessments. And it's the same way in 603. The two evidences you have in there, the OMA and the skip, you don't get to go to 605 unless you pass those. That's the way it works. It's a very Darwinian system, but that's the way it works. As I told you Monday night, this is a competitive business. If you can't keep up, you know, then we have to give you some extra time to try to catch you up. So under each of the tasks of the AAPSL, and it'll be the same way for the AAPTEL later, we have in the teal color here what it's going to take for you to hit accomplish. From our experiences, until you hit these things, your coaches are not going to let you go on. They're not going to let you put some mess in task stream that embarrasses you and embarrasses us. Please remember, these portfolios are submitted to the state, and prospective employers can pull these things up and look at them. And if they look like they should have been written in crayon, I suspect they won't hire you unless they need somebody to do custodial work or maintenance, which there's nothing wrong with that kind of work. It just doesn't tend to pay as much as administrative work does. And so if you want to be a school administrator, you better be thinking now. This is my job. This is my job interview starting, you know, Tuesday night started my job interview. I've got a year to get my act together and get all this work done and post all this professional work in a portfolio for people to see. The state will adjudicate it, whether you get your license or not. Then employers will adjudicate whether I want to employ this person or not. And if you can't spell cat when we spot you the C and the A, then they're not going to employ you. That's just the way it works. This is a, you know, business is business here, folks. You got in here to get out and not be as old as I am when you did it. You got in to get out. Oh, by the way, Dr. Stedman's older than I am, but that's neither here nor there. I have to remind him of that. So we have everything that you need to be accomplished. And so I get that question all the time. You know, what have I got to do? Well, right here it is. And these folks are employed for them to do this, to help you, to make sure that you do that. All right. So how do weekly Zooms work? You will partner with your coach and your instructor will partner with you. And so you will have 2 classes online together on Tuesday night through Dr. Stedman. You'll be Dr. Stedman, Dr. Revis. And they will partner together on Tuesday nights. And then Thursday night, we partner together in coach. I'll be with you the first 3/4 weeks. I'll come back from time to time. The third week, you know, we'll decide on the third week whether we'll continue or not, based on whether we get you in task stream or not. I talked with our task stream person today who purchased the licenses, and she's ready to go. I have your DRFs already fixed. I'll show you that. There it is. It's already fixed. All I've got to do is drop you in there once the license is bought, and it can't be bought until after drop add, because until drop add, if you drop, they'll refund all your money, but they can't refund task stream. Once you buy those licenses, it's yours. And so that's $159 the university has to eat if we buy you one before drop add. So after drop add, I talked to her today. She's ready to go. I'm helping her do some other things to get some things off of her plate, so she'll be ready to go. All she's got to do is buy your license. I've already got everything done. I'll just simply add you to these DRFs. I'll do that. I'm a program manager for task stream, and so you'll be right there. And you see where you upload your AAPSL, your AAPTEL, do your competency analysis at the end of your first semester, and you can do your School of Ed dispositions at any time. Just as soon as you get into task stream, you can go ahead and self-assess your self-dispositionally to begin with. But these are the 2 evidences due this semester. Competency analysis, you will do that at the end of the semester after you have completed both the AAPSL and the AAPTEL. And that's simply a copy and paste. It's really easy because you do the analysis in task 5 of the AAPSL. You do 12, you do the other 9 at the end of the AAPTEL, so that you have written a competency analysis of all 12 of these that go in your evidence, in your 2 evidences. You simply put those in separately at the end of the semester. You're good to go. You're golden. It's easy peasy. So don't worry about these 2. These are the 2. This is the 2 800-pound gorillas here. You've got to pass these 2 in order to get to go on to the next ones as we go across the line here. And you will be able to see, let me move this out of my way, up to the top. As you see, as I slide across, you have 2 evidences in 603, the OMA and the SCIP. You have your dispositions again. You will self-assess yourself again. And then you will do your last 2, the CAP and the SOP in 605. You'll assess yourself again. You'll do your final analysis, and you'll do a survey for me. And then you'll have your Competency Folio, which is your artifacts, your things from that. And then you will upload your final 3 logs. Please do not put your semester log in here at the end of the first semester and click evaluate, because then I have to send it back for revision. And then everybody gets mad at me. Did you not teach these people anything? We pay people to do this stuff one time. Once. And if I have to go in and send it back, or if they get it and they see that it's just one, you do not put until all 3 logs are completed at the end of your program. You put all 3 logs here and you submit it. Now, there is a place in your competency folio that's separate from this where you collect artifacts. In your competency folio, you can upload your semester logs and let your coach see them and give you feedback on them that look like they're going to pass in the end. You can get some feedback on those in a separate folio, which is called your competency folio. But here, do not upload them until the end. But this is what you have to have complete. And that competency folio, once you finish it, you have to import it over here, and it will be graded over here as well. But it is a separate folio of just artifacts, things, pictures, videos, those kinds of things, documents that a prospective employer can see. You can send to them a link. They can see that and see when you go in for an interview, the quality of the work that you do, that you actually did the things during your internship that you logged on your internship log, that you actually did those things. See, I could make up a log that said I did a lot of stuff, but I got to have proof. It's just like in any version. I mean, at the university, at the end of every year, when we have to file our evaluation report, they want proof. I can tell them what I did, and I have to tell them. I have to write it in a narrative, an evidence narrative of what I did during the year. But I also have to submit artifacts as well. And so I do pictures. I'll just tell you what I do. And so when I submit, I just take a picture of everything and go to gallery here. Oh, there's a picture of the cat on Laws's car. That tickles me every time. That's my favorite thing. But everything that I do, all the award, everything that I have, everything that I do, or projects or awards or any of those kinds of things, documents, I just simply take a picture of them. My community service, there's me as Santa Claus. All those things, my doctoral students, that's me and Razan right there. Let me pull that one up. All of my doctorals that get through, and we've got our, that's everything I do, I take a picture of it. Simply take a picture of it on your phone. All the things that aren't documents, just take a picture of it. Take a picture of screenshots. You can screen grab on your computer, take a picture with your phone, emails, different things that you've done, thank you notes, all that kind of stuff. Everything that's an artifact, an agenda for a meeting that you were in, the minutes, all that, just take a picture of it, and you can just upload it right in your competency folio. Those
Dr. Lamb,
artifacts.
Dr. Lamb, your pictures are not showing up. It's still,
Well,
we're not.
I just showed my
okay.
phone.
We're just. I was
just showing that
I thought you were trying to show them something there. Okay.
No, I just take everything on my phone.
Okay,
and then I can download those, and when you go to your competency folio, the neat thing about the competency folio, and I'll pull one up right quick. I'll teach you how to build one of these probably about the 3rd week or the 4th, according to when you get your account. When you go to your competency folio, here's one from last fall. This one's been submitted for evaluation. Let me try one here. When you want to do a communication artifact, you'll notice right here, it'll let you put a video in. It'll let you put a Prezi or a PowerPoint in. It'll let you do a text or an image, a PDF. It'll let you screenshot, text and image. It'll let you do a PNG, which is a screen grab. It'll let you do a JPEG, which is a picture from your phone. It has all these different ways that you can upload all these different kinds of artifacts. And so you need to start getting in the habit of taking pictures of things that you do that prove that you did the work as an intern, just like I have to prove the work that I do as a professor. You know, everything that I do, you know, at my self-evaluation at the end of every year that has to be submitted to the president, you know, that's the way everything works now. You have a written document, my ALA document, but then I have to have all my artifacts that show what I did. That's exactly what we do in here. Your DRF portfolio with your evidences in it, the narratives, that's one thing. And then the artifacts is a separate thing. And we do it separately so that you can send this, a link to this. See, you can publish this thing up here. See, it's publishable. And you can send the link to a prospective employer and they can see your artifacts. They can see that you did what you said that you were going to do. Now, I've covered everything on my list except for attendance. And I intentionally saved it for last because I wanted to see. So we've got about 80, 84, 85 people, which is good. Now, you say, well, Dale, these classes are supposed to be asynchronous. That means that I don't have to attend live. You don't have to attend live, but you either got to attend live or you got to watch the video every week. You'll get more if you attend live. I'll just tell you that right now. Our most successful folks attend every week. I told you Monday, it's going to take about 20 hours a week for you folks between all your PLC work, all of your writing, all of your work with your peer group, evaluating each other's work, doing peer evaluations, coming to class, coming to coaching, doing, 5 hours a week of clinical internship work at your school. 80 hours a semester means 5 hours a week. That's 1 hour a day. You got to do that. So when you add all that together, it comes out to about 20. The way, my suggestion to you is don't try to cheat on an hour by not coming to class. That may be the most important hour you do every week. Because these folks will tell you what to do and what not to do. They're good at what they do. Trust me, we didn't get the #1 ranking in North and South Carolina because we've just kind of showed up back dumb and happy with a bath and clean clothes. These folks are expert at what they do. They get you through this program in a year and you can perform once you get out into the real world. The last thing that I'm going to show you tonight, I don't have it pulled up already. They've got all the documents that you need, but I'm going to show you one thing to kind of end my little, my spiel tonight. Let me go over here to my screen and share. I'm going to pull up a document, hopefully. And I didn't pull it up earlier for a reason, because sometimes if I pull it up too early, it doesn't want to work. And so I'm going to go to this. When you get to be an assistant principal or a principal, you will be evaluated using evidence and artifacts on the first 5 standards, executive standards. We as a unit are evaluated on how well you do in your job. Let me say that again. Even after you graduate from us, you finish, we are evaluated. Gardner-Webb University is evaluated against other institutions, state average, in terms of how well you perform in your job. You will notice the 2 highest categories, accomplished and distinguished. This is Gardner-Webb. We're the IHE. That's us. We are significantly higher than the state average on each of the 5 standards in the 2 highest categories. We are the only university in the state that can say that. Nobody else is significantly higher on all the standards. Now, I will not argue that our folks are better administrators. I will argue that our folks understand the evaluation system better than anybody else. I hope we're better administrators. Because my last thought with you tonight, before I have to duck out and get to my next Zoom here, my last thought is this. I want you to strive to be great. Kids deserve greatness. Kids deserve greatness. There's enough average administrators in the world already. Strive to be a great one. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for accomplished people. We're looking for people who are a cut above. You have it within you, or we wouldn't have taken you. We don't just take anybody. We're a private university. We don't have to take everybody. We're not a private college that has to take whoever that meets the requirement. We don't have to. our requirements are higher and we expect more. We expect more and better. We expect greatness. That's the beauty of a private Christian institution, is we're private number one and Christian number two. We want you to be good people. We want you to serve God and humanity well. That's our motto, Pro Deo et Humanitatis, just for God and humanity. Thank you for allowing me the time to be with you tonight again. I will see you again next week. I'm going to leave this to the experts, and I'll quit my rant. But again, remember, Dr. Stedman's older than I am. I'll see you next week.
By 1 month. Dr. Lamb, make me the host again, please.
I'm going to make you the host before I leave. Make host. Yes, you are now the host. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lamb.
Good night, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're going to move on following the agenda. Dr. Hamilton is going to share with us at this time some information, a quick overview of APA, and lead into some other things. Dr. Hamilton, are you going to share your own screen? And
I would love to, if that's okay.
Okay, you go ahead.
Thanks. Greetings, everyone. I am Dr. Robin Hamilton, and I'm an adjunct professor in this program, and I am proud to be able to work with you all this evening. So we're going to talk a little about APA 7th edition, and this is new for about the last year or so that we've been working in 7th, not 6th. So of course, all of you already have a master's degree or a doctorate degree, and so you probably used 6th edition when you got your previous graduate degree. So this is going to be a little different for you. This PowerPoint should be uploaded in week 1 of your shell in Blackboard for your access. So this is just a link to the Gardner Webb Library Guides page. And that just takes you sort of there, and it just has a place there that has library resources that you can look at. The Dover Library has lots of things there that you can look at, and that is there for your convenience. Also, next week, the librarian, Natalie Bishop, will be offering 2 APA 7th edition trainings. You are required to attend one of those 2 sessions. The first session is on Tuesday, August 31st at 6 o'clock, and that occurs right before our 7 o'clock class. And the other offering is the following Thursday, September 2nd at 6 p.m., and that will be right before our Thursday evening 7 o'clock coaching class. So you only need to attend one of these 2 sessions, and they're really good. And so you'll enjoy that, and that will help you. Here's some more information from you. This first one just being Ask a Librarian reference chat. There are just a link there that you can go, and you can go online and you can ask librarians questions, and so that's there. Also, the library guides at Gardner Webb, we just looked at that just a minute ago. And then the Purdue OWL link, which will also provide a lot of reference information for you. If you want to go looking at that, that links you right to the APA 7th edition. You see it right there. It was released in October of 2019, so almost 2 years, I guess. So there are lots of things in there that you can go and you can look up when you are trying to write. We've already talked about this being a writing and research intensive class, and along with that comes the appropriate use of APA 7th edition. One thing about APA 7th edition is the use of acronyms and abbreviations. So the word needs to be used at least 3 times within your paper to use an acronym or an abbreviation. So if you're not going to use it 3 times, then you wouldn't abbreviate. So the name of my school was, before they changed it this year, Parsley Elementary School. So if I was only going to reference Parsley Elementary School 2 times in my entire paper, I would just write out Parsley Elementary School. But if I was going to use it more, at least 3 times, which I probably would in my school profile, which is what you will do right before you start your AAPSL Task 1, then the first time I use it, I would say Parsley Elementary School. I would put it in parentheses, PES, and then throughout the remainder of my paper, I would only use PES because I would have used it more than 3 times. Headings and capitalizations. The template that we're giving you for your AAPSL and your APTEL is already in APA 7th edition for you. So do not change the template that we're giving you, follow that. The first word, like in a heading, is capitalized, but then the subsequent words are lowercase. So in your AAPSL Task 1, Prompt 1, the first thing you're going to do is PLC research. And you'll see that we have it labeled just like that for you. PLC is an acronym. So it is already capitalized for you. And then research is a lowercase r because that is APA 7th edition. So that's already there. In APA 7th edition, proper names are capitalized, but when capitalizing, you're going to err on the side of lowercase letters. So that's a little different for APA 7th. In APA 7th, they've also taken the word they, and that is now a singular pronoun. So just know that that is a singular pronoun now in APA 7th edition. All of the charts, graphs, anything like that that you put in your AAPSL and your APTEL will be labeled as a figure. So keep this in mind that everything that you do in the AAPSL and APTEL will be called figures. And notice that when you create a figure, you're going to name them figure 1, figure 2, figure 3. And these go in sequential order. So the very first figure in your paper will be figure 1. The next one will be figure 2, and etc. Numbers of the figures, of course, are based on the order in which the figures appear in your paper. And figure 1, figure 2, figure 3, the text is bold and it's left justified. So figure 1 is going to be bold, left justified. Then the title of that figure will be double spaced under figure 1. And it is not bold. It is going to be italicized, and that is also left justified. And we want your title to be brief and clear and succinct, and it should tell a little about what your figure is about. So here's an example for you. So you see that figure 1 is left justified, it's bold, and this is the first figure in my paper. Beneath there, not in bold, but in italics, I have simple figure title. Here is the figure. Then beneath your figure, you're going to have in italics, note. Note is left justified, it is capitalized, and it has a period. And then you're going to give a brief description about what we are seeing in that figure. So that is the way your figures will appear. APA 7th edition, you write in first person. You refer to yourself in first person. So previously in our papers, our students wrote the candidate. Now you write I, blah, 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 whatever. Please do not confuse first person with personal narrative. This is a research-based document. Now you will have some things from your school that you'll talk about, but especially for the AAPSL Task 1, this is a research-based document. So when you're talking about your research for PLCs in your AAPSL Task 1, it's going to be about what you have synthesized from your research. You have to have at least 3 references in your AAPSL Task 1, and one of those has to be D4, and we'll talk about that a little more later. However, you're just going to be synthesizing and doing a mini lit review on what you have reported. So we would not be seeing a lot of I in there because it's not going to be about you or the PLCs at your school or anything. So just don't confuse first person with personal narratives. You want to write in an active voice. One way to make sure that you're doing that is to think about the subject has to be doing the action. When the subject comes after the verb, it's passive. So make sure that the subject is doing the action. So that is a good way to work with that. And if you have any question about that, Dr. Crawford is our resident expert on that. He's really good at that. Singular versus plural. The words in the left column are singular. The words in the right column are plural. So here is a common misunderstanding. Data are plural. And so that's a common misunderstanding. So there's that list for you that you can go back and reference. And again, this is under week 1. When you're doing your research, it's really best to synthesize what you research in your own words when you are writing it in your paper. A paper full of quotations is hard to read. And it just doesn't convey that good flow like it does when you have put it in your own words. If you do need to quote something, then make sure that it's quoted accurately. At the end, when you finish your AAPSL and when you finish your APTEL, your work will go into Turnitin check. And that is basically a plagiarizing check. And anything that you have in there that is not appropriately cited as a quotation will pop up and we will know. And so it has to be done. It has to be quoted appropriately. Just paraphrase and summarize when you can. If you can't, then that's okay. But just be very mindful of that, because anytime that we have an overuse of quotations, just doesn't flow well and come together. Remember that anytime you have more than 40 words in a quote, you have to use that block quote format. References for in-text citations come at the end of each section, and then you'll merge all those at the end of your evidence artifact. Your reference section must be in alphabetical order. Appendices come after the reference section, and they're at the very end. You will have an appendix, and your very first appendix, Appendix A, will be your principal's permission for you to have your PLC. When you are formatting your reference list, I was thinking I already had that open, but I'm not sure which tab that is. When you're formatting your reference list, there you go. That's back to that Purdue OWL. And this gives you basic rules for how to format your reference list. And so that will help you there. When you have your references, has to have the APA formatting rules. You also have to use hanging indents for your references. And we're going to watch a little 40-second video about
hanging indents for a citation in Microsoft Word. Begin by highlighting your citation. In the paragraph section of the Microsoft Word toolbar, click the expander icon to pop up the full paragraph editing box. In the second section, click the drop-down menu under the special heading. Choose Hanging and click OK. Now your citation has a hanging indent.
And that is on the Gardner Webb Library, LibGuides at Gardner Webb. So that is on there for you as well. Also, this is under the tab APA Style. Also on there, you have lots of information. Here's the APA 7th edition manual, and we do recommend that you purchase the APA 7th edition manual. If you decide not to, there are lots of references online and here at the Gardner Webb Dover Library for you to access. So there are things there. How do I cite these things? So how do I cite a journal article, a magazine article? All those things are here. Font guides, line spacings, tables and figures, all those things are here. And then the video on how to create those hanging indents is there on that page as well. And so there's lots of information on that page for you that I think you'll find helpful. And again, this is under week 1 of your Blackboard shell, and you can go back and find that information there. When you are citing your references versus your in-text citations, pull this up so I can make this bigger. Your reference, of course, this is going to be at the end of your evidence artifact, your AAPSL or your APTEL, right before your appendices. You're going to have this in a hanging indent, and so you'll have this reference entry. Anything that you cite, you summarize, you paraphrase, or you have a direct quote of, you must have a reference, an in-text citation for that. For all in-text citations, and an in-text citation is just that, it's in your narrative, it's in your text. For every in-text citation you have, you must have the reference list entry in your reference section at the end of your evidence artifact. And for everything that you have in your reference list section, you have to have the corresponding in-text citation in your evidence artifact, your AAPSL or your APTEL. So there are two types of in-text citations. Parenthetical citations, where the author's name and the date are both in parentheses. So the sky is blue, in parentheses, Alexander, comma, 2018. Okay, that works. A narrative citation is when you have the author's name outside of the parentheses. So Alexander, 2018, said the sky is blue. So those are two different kinds of citations. They are both in-text citations, parenthetical or narrative. And have the corresponding reference list entry. So on your in-text citations for APA 7th edition, it says my internet is unstable. 1 to 2 authors, there's no change. Either if it's one author, just like this, Earl, comma, 2013, okay, or Oberlies and Matheson, 2019, page 45. So that would be like a direct quote because you had the page number there.
And what
These
Dr. Hamilton's
Sorry.
showing you, these are the main ones that you're going to be dealing with in your work for the most part. What you're seeing is what you will be dealing with mostly.
Mm-hmm. And so these are the parenthetical citations. And if you had a narrative citation right here for Oberlies and Matheson, you would not use an ampersand. So if these were not inside this parentheses, you would put Oberlies, AND, Matheson, then the parentheses 2019, page 45. So just note that. If you have 3 or more authors in APA 7th edition, you only use the author's first name and then et al, that's ETAL period, for each in-text citation. So here's an example, Black et al, period, comma, 2010. So we do not know how many authors contributed to this work because there were more than 3 or more, and so you put it like that. So please pay very careful attention and go back and look at this as you begin your work. So here's an example in APA 7th edition, Taylor, Kotler, Johnson, and Parker, 2018. No, you wouldn't write them out like that. You would just put Taylor et al because that's 3 or more. In APA 6th edition, after punctuation, you had 2 spaces. In APA 7th edition, following punctuation, it is only 1 space. Times New Roman, even though APA 7th does give options, the Gardner-Webb Department of Education requests that we use Times New Roman 12 point. And then the last big point that I want to make, numbers. Numbers 0 to 9 are written in word form. So if it is 9 children, whatever, you will not write the number, you'll write out the word N-I-N-E. And never begin or end a sentence with numerals. So if you said 55% of our students are on free and reduced lunch, don't put the 5 and the 5 and the percent. spell out FIFTY-FIVE. So you never begin or end a sentence with a numeral, and numbers 0 to 9 are always in word form. So that is an overview. And then next week, Dr. Bishop will expand upon those things and others. And remember, that is in week one, and those links are there for you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hamilton. And you will find this, it should be under week 1 in your Blackboard course shell. So you look for that from each of the instructors. They have placed it there. Dr. Lamb has already done some introduction to the evidence work that you'll be doing this semester. However, on Tuesday evening, you were already introduced to evidence 1 that you are already beginning to work on, and that is the AAPSL, the Analysis and Action Plan for Student Learning. Knowing that there are 5 tasks with that, and basically you were introduced more than likely to task 1 on Tuesday evening. We're going to talk more about that before we leave this evening, but Dr. Hamilton, I'm sure you probably showed the template as well in your class on Tuesday night, the AAPSL template, or you went through that. And you know that the first thing you do is that there's a cover page and it says the only thing you do is my name is here, and you put your name there. Then the next thing that you will do is the school profile. And we're going to ask Dr. Crawford if he would to talk with you at this time about what is the school profile. Dr. Crawford.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. We talked about this briefly with my class and Dr. Hamilton. So some of this will be repetitive for you, but we told you that going in, that a lot of things are going to be repetitive. The simplest way to put this is your school profile. You are telling the story of your school. You are telling a story of your school, and that story is going to be different surrounding your school. So I pulled up one as I'm getting the internet connection unstable. I pulled up one that I was able to show to my class on Tuesday. And the only reason I pulled this one up is because had my mother not moved us to Charlotte, North Carolina in my 9th year of school, this is the high school that I academy. And as you see here in their about BLA section, they basically tell the story of this school in concise sentences. You will have more of a paragraph or parenthetical narrative, but the fact that it's 143 years old is a significant thing that you want to talk about for your school. How it celebrated its 25th anniversary. It gives a breakdown of the ethnicity of the school. Talks briefly about residency requirements. You talk about their beliefs, and then goes into their faculty and staff. For all of you, as you are looking for where you would find this information for your school, it's either going to be located either on your school's webpage in the About Us section. Many cases you can get through it through the district page in the About Us section. Or if push comes to shove, and I think most of you are in North Carolina, you'll find it in your in InduStar in your school improvement plan, because you'll have a narrative in there about your school there. So basically, you want to tell a story about your school's relationship to its community, maybe even about the community itself and things that are significant to that community. So, for example, here in High Point, North Carolina, I would probably mention, High Point used to be the furniture building capital of the world, but since that industry has gone away, the community has still struggled to replace that industry with something else. I have a student, I forget who it is, in my class that's in Richmond County. So if they were at Richmond Senior High School, that school has a rich tradition of athletic excellence, which is very central to that community. For those of you that are, or that may be down east, with some of the, that maybe deal with migrant farmers that may affect your attendance of your school. those are the things that you want to look up and you want to add as you tell the story of your school and its relationship to the community. So again, I just pulled that one up. If you're in North Carolina, you'll start with IndyStar. It's probably the fastest place to go to look for that information. And in many cases, copy and paste while you create your own narrative. The other thing I want to piggyback on something Dr. Hamilton said as you are creating this narrative. Please remember, and again, I know we mentioned this on Tuesday, please remember that anything that is not common knowledge is something that's going to need to be cited. And so I'm looking at Sean Garrett, just because he's right in front of me on my screen. If he says, my school sits in a community of 50,000 people, in the largest industry is a hospital that employs 950 people. He may know that because he lives here, but a reader is not going to know that because it's not common knowledge. And so you would need to make sure that you cite where you get that information. And as I look at the questions, Amy, I'm sorry, the best place to look, start with your school improvement plan. Each of those 9.5 times out of 10 is going to have a school profile section. And you can start there for information about the community at large that you may want to connect to your school profile. Great city, there's one that everybody tends to find. It's like Great City Sites or something like that, that you can find, and you can cite city information there or directly from a city information page if that's where you want to look from there. Any other questions?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Crawford. Okay, Dr. Revis, do you want me to share the screen and pull yours up, or are you going to do it yourself? I can't hear you.
Let me try to share it if you don't
Okay,
mind.
go ahead. Okay.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the purpose of our AAPSL. And guys, I know we're talking a lot about acronyms here, so please be patient with us. But the AAPSL stands for Analysis and Action Plan for Student Learning. So the purpose of getting you to work and in doing these tasks is because it simulates a process that you would use as a principal in a school improvement process. So this is actually the South Carolina School Improvement Framework. North Carolina is very, very similar, if not identical. This is a framework that's pretty common that we use in education. And so what we're trying to get you ready to do is becoming that 21st century leader and being able to lead a school improvement plan, a team, through developing a plan. So if you start at the very top, you see diagnose, and that's the first step where your school improvement team collects and analyzes student learning data. Could be student performance data and student growth data. And there we're going to look at areas in which our students excel, and we will note areas that our students need more support in, or areas for growth and improvement. Then if you come on around clockwise, you have this next piece is where we select. Well, we're going to do some research here. Your school improvement team has identified an area of need, and now they're going to do some research, and that's where they're going to try to find programs, research-based programs or best practices that align to that identified need for improvement. And then your school improvement team will start building its plan of action. You're going to build a lot of action plans during this course. This one has to do with improving student learning. But we're building that plan, and we're taking into consideration all the data, the research-based strategies or programs that we're going to implement. And we're going to talk about how we're going to implement that in our school. And you're putting together an action plan. And then as a school leader, we have implementation, monitoring, and revising. It's a cycle. You never stop with school improvement. So on the next slide, which I just went right through, the next slide is overlaid with the AAPSL. So here, right underneath the title of the graphic organizer, and I love graphic organizers and visuals, so I'll use a lot of those in our course. You have the AAPSL Task 1, and that's where you're establishing your PLC and you're doing your PLC research. So we get into the AAPSL Task 2, and that's where you're going to diagnose. That's where you're going to lead and facilitate your PLC into a data dive. And that's where you're going to look at areas that in which your students have performed well. And that's where you're going to identify areas of need. And then in task 3, what you're going to do is some research and looking at best practices and research-based programs that address that area of need. So the programs we select have to align to the area of need that your PLC identified as needing to improve. In task 4, you're going to do these 3 components in task 4. And that's where you're going to develop your action plan. And you're going to identify those strategies and those programs that you're going to implement. You're going to talk about how we're going to implement those. You're going to design short-term, mid-term, long-term goals for implementation, and you're even going to talk about how you're going to monitor it. That all comes in task 4. So even though your school may not choose to implement the plan that your PLC comes up with, remember what we're trying to do is to get you to simulate what a school improvement process and framework looks like, so that when you're a 21st century leader, you have experience in this framework.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Revis. And I'm going to move on with Dr. Hamilton again. She's going to briefly talk to us about what is the PLC.
Thank you, Dr. Stedman. Thank you, Dr. Revis. That was awesome. It was a great visual. I appreciate that. So just very quickly, what are professional learning communities? Well, for the purpose of this, we're going to use the work of Richard DeFore. He is the seminal researcher in PLCs, and this is the work that we will be using and the framework that we will be following. And when you do your research, you do have to have at least one of your references has to be DeFore. So a lot of times in schools, we call any group of teachers who work together on student work or any kind of groups that get together a PLC, when in fact they may not be a PLC. And they may very well be a PLC that's aligned with research. And if they're good, if they are, that is awesome if you're already operating under this model. But if they're not, then your research is going to help you discover and understand this model. And then you'll be able to lead your PLC under this model. So a PLC focuses on learning versus teaching. So it's not about what we taught or what we presented, but it's what did the students learn? Because if the students didn't learn it, then we weren't effective in our teaching. When you do your PLC, the AAPSL is about student learning. So your PLC is going to have to be focused and on student learning outcomes. And so it's not going to be able to be about attendance or discipline or engaging remote learners or anything like that. It actually has to be about the student learning. Not that those things can't impact it, but this is what it's about. So the first thing a PLC focuses on learning, not teaching. This was just a quote from an article. Collaborative teacher conversations must quickly move beyond what are we expected to teach to how will we know when each student has learned. So about learning, how do we know when they learn it? And what are we going to do when they don't learn it? It focuses on working collaboratively versus working in isolation and holding ourselves accountable for those results of student learning. That self-accountability for every student in the building. So PLC big idea number 1 is to make sure that all students learn. Number 2, in a culture of collaboration, and then focusing on those results and holding ourselves accountable. So what do we want them to learn? How do we know when they learn it? And then what's going to be our response when they don't? So PLC is a group of staff members who are determined to work together. When they are determined to work together, they will find a way. And that's from this DeFore article that is in your resources in Blackboard. All right, Dr. Stedman.
Okay. And let me quickly share. We're almost through, so hang in there just about 5 more minutes, guys. I want to bring this up. Let's see. Coaching document. Okay, this is it. And you'll find this under week 1 as well in your course shells. I want to quickly talk to you about, simply in layman's terms, how to begin task 1 of the AAPSL. We've talked about it on Tuesday night. We've referred to it tonight, but this is in simple terms. Use the AAPSL template that's found in Blackboard under AAPSL template and materials. Do not deviate from that. Use the template. Review the AAPSL example that's found in Blackboard under AAPSL template and materials. As Dr. Hamilton has already said, you will find that it has pretty much been, we've corrected it for APA 7th edition, and it may not be an accomplished document, but it shows you the process and how things should be written and how it should be done. A lot of what she talked about with APA tonight is modeled in that example, so make sure you look at it. Use the AAPSL Helpful Hints document found in Blackboard under AAPSL template and materials. It's aligned with everything else, and it just basically it explains it a lot in layman's terms that helps you better understand. I would copy all these documents. I would put them in a notebook beside me so that I can refer to them constantly while I'm doing my work. If you haven't done this already, you should have dialogue with your site supervisor, your principal probably, concerning the requirements to lead a PLC this semester. Explain to them what you're going to be doing. Let them know you will be asking teachers and staff and possibly administration to be a part of the PLC. You will need to put this request in writing because that becomes an artifact, even though you may speak directly to your supervisor, and you need an affirmative response back from them, which will also be an artifact that you will put in your appendices when you complete task 1 of the AAPSL. These emails will serve as artifacts and will be included in your appendices for task 1. As Dr. Crawford has already talked about, your next step, complete your school profile. This is the story of your school. Then task 1, prompt 1. This is what you're going to be doing. You're going to complete your PLC research with a minimum of 3 sources, and one of them must be a reference from Richard DeFore, as Dr. Hamilton has said. She's talked about what is, in this, you're going to talk about what is a PLC. You're going to talk about, according to what the research says, what does a good PLC look like? How is a good PLC conducted? What are the norms, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's lots of, it's not what you think, is what the research says. A lot of materials have been placed in your Blackboard course shell. Avail yourself to them. That's why they're there. Next, you're going to select who will serve on your PLC, 4 to 5 members. You're going to tell us why you chose them. You're going to talk about their strengths. You're going to talk about their educational credentials, etc. That's the second thing that you do under task 1. Then next, you're going to conduct your first PLC meeting and lead the PLC. And in this, you're not doing anything. You're not disaggregating data. You're introducing what you're going to be doing to them. You're introducing the purpose of the PLC, the vision of the PLC. With them, you're going to establish norms, etc., based on what DeFore says. And you're going to decide, who's going to do what, who's going to be the record keeper, who's going to be the timekeeper, who's going to, who's going to do what, when are you going to meet, what should they expect when they meet, those kinds of things. Then you're going to have a reference section, as Dr. Hamilton has said, using APA 7th edition. And then you're going to conclude with your appendices, and at a minimum, You will have your email that you know, to conduct the PLC with an affirmative response from your principal. You'll have your meeting agenda and minutes of the meeting, assigning roster, etc. And then you can also include a picture of yourself presenting as an artifact as well. This is what you do with task 1. This is what we will need to see next, not this Sunday night, but next Sunday night or by then. You don't have to wait until then. If you get it done before then, you can go ahead and put it in there for peer and instructor review. The quicker you get it to us, the quicker we can give you feedback, and the quicker you can begin looking at the next step on your own, even before we get to it, and basically get ahead of the game. But that's pretty much it. That's it in a nutshell. We've covered a lot this evening, a lot. But it's some good stuff to help you get started. Dr. Revis, Dr. Hamilton, Dr. Crawford, do you have anything? It's 8:06. Do you have anything in closure that needs to be said?
Just ask questions if you need it.
Okay. Do what, Dr. Crawford?
Just reach out and ask questions if you have them.
That's right. I would take the time. You need to take the time. You'll get this recording before the evening's over with. But take the time to go through Blackboard, look at all of the materials and resources that we have available to you. Again, do like we have told you. Hang in there. Give us 3. Going into the 4th week, you will begin to see, feel, and understand the transitioning in your thinking and what you've got to do. And I promise you, it will all fall in place and you'll do well if you'll hang in there with us. I promise you. Anybody that hangs with us through those 3 or 4 weeks does well. Okay. Well, good night, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you on Tuesday evening. Okay. Good night, everybody.
I have a question.
Okay. Okay.
Who is the go-to person, like when you have a question? Because I feel really confused. I still feel the same way I've been feeling all along.
Okay. Reach out to Dr. Revis at this point, Kayla. Just reach out to her and just have a one-on-one with Dr. Revis at this point. Okay? Just communicate with Dr. Revis.
Are you able to answer some of the questions in the chat?
Okay. What was the question, Natasha? Or who was asking that question?
I'm sorry, it was Evangela, but there were a couple of questions in the chat, but one I wanted to know is approximately how many pages should this assignment be?
That's going to be different for different people, Evangela. That's hard to say. You know,
so like a minimum of.
I can't tell you that. I'm not, and I don't think any of your professors will tell you that. It's not a dissertation, but it is, you know, it's professional and it is research. So, you know, when you've covered your topic, you've covered your topic. I wouldn't say, you know, do things that are unnecessary, but make sure that you've fully covered and talked about, you know, what you need to cover in there. Again, it's not a thesis or a dissertation, but it's going to vary. Some people write differently. Dr. Revis, I know you trying to say something.
Yeah. And remember, you do have a sample
Right.
Posted that you can read and get a feel for the writing and the flow, and of course, you know, the length. But we don't count pages. You've just got to thoroughly, if you'll use your helpful hints, you've got to thoroughly discuss each heading.
Okay, thank you.
And again, Evangela, that's going to be different for different people because people write differently.
Is there a possibility that we can get like a timeline of dates when things are due? I mean, I know like we said this assignment is due next Sunday, but can we get like something?
It's in your Blackboard shell.
It is, okay.
Everything, every due date, everything is in your Blackboard shell.
It's under MELS 601 weekly class schedule.
Those of you with Dr. Hamilton and I, we will remind you every Tuesday what you have due.
And Dr. Revis and I will do likewise.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question. When are we supposed to start doing our internship log?
Yesterday, if you've been doing, I don't mean that. If you've been doing things, in fact, Dr. Lamb said that if many of you had to work this summer with, with some of the summer programming that was done, and if you were given any leadership responsibilities in July, and you can relate them to some of the things that you're doing, then we'll even give you some credit for some things in July. Just talk with whoever your clinical coach too is about that, and we can help you with that. But you can begin immediately, Natasha, doing that.
And my next question, when do I talk to my clinical coach? I'm not trying to rush anybody, but I'm just making sure that I'm not missing my coach. And
you won't talk to your clinical coach too unless there is a need to talk to your clinical coach too. That you will be, if you're with Dr. Revis and me, you'll be with either of us every Tuesday anyway. And then if there's a need to meet, or there's something you don't understand, then that's when you would reach out to us. Usually clinical coaches too is referred by your instructor. If there's something that's not working and we see that there is an issue or a problem that you're just quite not getting, if it's Dr. Revis has a student, she may say, Dr. Stedman, I've looked at this, maybe another set of eyes can look at this differently, or you can say it differently to help the light bulb come on, so to speak, or vice versa. Your clinical coach one is going to be a one-time visit, and that's what they're doing now, is just reaching out and making sure that that everything's established with you and your site supervisor to be able to do the things that you need to do with your internship and with your POCs. So.
Okay, so we should just be getting one visit from our coach soon to make sure that's okay.
Right, and that will be a virtual visit, Natasha.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, anything else?
This is just a quick question in reference to licensure. Are we focusing just on North Carolina, or are we looking at North Carolina and South Carolina in reference to certification?
Okay, it's North Carolina certification only, but everything that you do will prepare you for the South Carolina praxis.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. You have to get certified in North Carolina. You take the South Carolina praxis, and then South Carolina, when you pass that, they will reciprocate the licensure that you get for North Carolina.
Dr. Stedman, I have a question for you.
Okay.
So we've been in school for, I guess, 9 days, and things have hit the fan like they have everywhere in South Carolina. And so when I was speaking with my principal, he was saying that other candidates in the past have kind of done things under him as well as the APs. Is it okay for me to kind of use all of them just because we're all kind of stretched thin right now?
Absolutely. You're under their direction, and an AP, you're just as you can do work under them as well. And as we are moving, we don't know what the next week or two is going to. If for some reason you have to go virtual again, you will conduct everything virtually. You will run the business virtually. So, already go ahead and put a plan in place. If they would shut the doors tomorrow, you need to begin thinking, what am I going to do? How am I going to meet with my PLC? You'll meet with them virtually, but you will move on with the program will not stop.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Dr. Stedman,
Yes.
I put this in the chat, but I was just curious, when I'm looking at the AAPSL scoring rubric under the AAPSL tasks and prompts in Blackboard, I keep getting a message that's saying that the resource isn't found. Should I be looking for it somewhere else?
Okay, say again, what are you looking for?
It says it's under the AAPSL tasks and prompts, and then it says AAPSL scoring rubric. So I clicked it, but it says it can't be found.
Okay.
It does say that.
Okay,
Mhm.
now I had to go back and replace mine. So whose
Okay.
class is that in?
I'm sorry. Let me look. I am.
Who's your instructor, Lauren?
I'm in C10. Does
Okay,
that help?
that would be me, Lauren. Let me look at that and see.
That's a
why.
different one than what we replaced, Dr. Stedman. This is something else. That scoring rubric is also in the MELS handbook. I don't know why that's not there, but it's not.
One of them was in there as an HTML file, and I went back and put it in as I had to go back and change that because the HTML file wouldn't open up, and I thought that it had yeah, let me look at that, Lauren, and I will let me know if it's not fixed by in the morning. Okay.
Thank you.
I know
Okay.
Crawford's is the same way. I emailed him about it earlier.
Okay. Don't know what happened.
I'm sure they're all the same way. Mine is
Yeah.
that way too. I just looked.
But Dr. Revis, you and I talked about that, and I thought that I thought I had fixed it.
I'm going to share right quick, Dr. Stedman,
Sure. Yeah.
if that's okay.
Yes, absolutely.
So in the MELS handbook, under MELS Competency Handbook and Folio, if you go to the MELS Scale Handbook, here is that same rubric: the accomplished, the proficient, the developing, the emerging, and then of course it was the prompt. So that is in there as well, so that it is there. It was just one of those duplicated things, but that is what you would have found there. So you can still go to the MELS handbook and Competency Folio resources, then go to the MELS Scale Handbook and scroll down and you'll find that for each task.
Does basic technologies just mean, I feel like that's a stupid question, I'm sorry, but does that mean just like communicating, like using electronic agenda, and or well, what does that term mean on that rubric?
You can email, you can create a Word document, you can upload a Word document, you can upload things into Blackboard, you can take screenshots, you can take photographs, you can upload artifacts.
You can do a presentation
with a
virtually or
PowerPoint.
electronic PowerPoint. You can handle Zoom. You can handle whatever platform you've been using for the past year. You know.
Okay, I was overthinking that. Sorry, I was overthinking that.
Okay. All of
It's
that. Okay. These are other questions. We'll fix whatever that problem is. Between the four of us, we'll get it fixed.
Lauren, your hand is still raised. Do you have something else?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I guess I can't use basic technologies.
That's hilarious. Jennifer, your hand is raised.
Hi, yes, thank you. Am I able to use CFIP as another source for my PLC research? The 6-step process? Because we use that in my district as well as the 4 to, model our stuff.
Then yeah, typically if it's something that your district is using or mandates that using, then that we would count that as something that can be used. So yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And Jennifer, I would just make sure that in your literature review, just as Dr. Hamilton said, just make reference to the 4, and then the rest of it falls in place. There's a lot.
Yeah, and we use both, so I would absolutely reference both of them. Thank you.
And there's a lot of good people out there now that's much more recent than before. He's just, he's just the father of all this, so that's why we give him credit for it. So,
Kayla, your hand is raised.
She's going to reach out to Dr. Hamilton. I mean, Dr. Revis.
Okay,
that
okay,
She asked, and she's going to reach out to Dr. Revis.
okay, good.
Yeah, I sent her an email. Sorry, I was on mute. I was
Thanks,
talking.
Kayla.
That's okay. Okay. Is
All right,
everybody
anything
else?
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to go ahead. We're going to sign off then, and we'll see you on Tuesday. And I'm going to go ahead and process this video.
And can I just say,
get it
don't
out.
forget the library, Dr. Stedman, don't forget the library.
Right,
Tuesday
right.
night at 6 or Thursday night at 6.
And Dr. Revis, Dr. Hamilton, Dr. Crawford, and I, we will send a reminder sometime, probably Sunday, so that you'll be prepared for it on Monday. Okay?
It's Tuesday.
Tuesday, Monday, so you'll be prepared for it on Tuesday.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
it's okay.
Good night,
Do we have
everybody.
Have a good evening.
This Sunday?
Nothing's due this Sunday.
Nothing.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
You all have a great
Good
night.
night.
Thank you for your time.
You.